Hello and welcome to Nuts and Bolts. Fantastic to have you here. We've got a great session on today. This is all about having that loud co-worker. You know, the one in the office that speaks really loud or, speaks on the phone really loudly or yells to people over the other side of the room or whatever it may be. So annoying, right? So annoying. So we're going to talk about the things that you can do, the 7 things or tips that you can do to handle that loud co-worker. Okay, so let's see how we go. Remember, if you've got a question that you need to answer and is driving you crazy and you want some advice, then absolutely email me at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com and I will make a short video of it and send it out to the world with your permission, of course. Okay, so how to handle that loud co-worker. So we've all been there. Even I've been there. I remember when I was working in corporate in HR for a while, and there was a really lovely gentleman, but he had this really, really annoying habit of putting his phone on speaker. So not only would you hear his voice, but you'd hear the other person's voice coming over, and it was an open plan office, so it was so annoying. And the first couple of times I didn't do anything about it because he actually had his own office, but all the door was open and then it was all open plan. So, and he was right there, his doorway was right there to me. So a phone call had come and I'd dread it because I'd see him just put it on speaker, hello, and you'd hear the other person going, doors wide open. In the end, it wasn't overly constructive, but I just went up there, looked at it, gave him a funny look and just slammed both his doors and thought, if that doesn't get it, nothing will. He actually was really good about it. He came out and said, oh, look, I'm so sorry. Was I really that loud? And I said, yes, really, really distracting. And you do it every phone call. So if you're going to do that, that's fine. But can you close your doors? That's all I ask. So sometimes it can get to the point where you're so frustrated that you stop being constructive. That was me. So let's try not to do that. I'm going to give you 7 tips before you get to that stage. Okay. So hopefully we'll be able to nip it in the bud before it gets you pulling your hair out. Okay, so the first thing to do, so if somebody's shouting out your name or shouting out to you over the, 3 desks or whatever and wanting to talk to you, first thing you want to do is ignore it. Just ignore it. Don't speak to him. Don't engage in that conversation. They're going to get tired of having a one-sided conversation eventually. And at some point, they're going to get up and come and see you and go, are you all right? You can look up and go, oh, well, you're talking to me. I'm concentrating on what I'm working on. If you're shouting at me, I'm not going to answer you. So just ignoring them. Don't engage in that conversation, and they might find that every time from now when they want to come and speak to you, they'll stand up and come around and walk that 15 paces to get to you rather than screaming over 3 desks. So that's the first one. Just don't enter in those conversations if that's the case, and just make sure that you don't engage in that conversation if it's being shouted out. The second one is, when you have one of your entire office meetings or team meetings, why don't you just pipe up and say, listen, we're in an open plan office. I just thought that we might want to get some etiquette on the table with regards to how we want to, work in that open plan office. I have my radio on. Does that annoy anybody? No. Okay. So we all agree that that doesn't annoy anyone, but I think we should consider about having the noise kept down to a minimum because obviously some people are working and concentrating and all that. So being quite open, but not singling anybody out. So you're not going to go, yeah, Johnny, because you're a shouter and a screamer and you're driving us all crazy. Okay. So you're not going to get to that stage. You're just actually going to tell the whole team that are in that open plan office, we're gonna set some rules, some etiquettes, if you like. And you can speak to somebody who's a really good facilitator to do that for you if you wanted to. And everybody then can partake in, I think we should do this and I think we should do that, and get some agreements on what those etiquettes of being in an open plan office should be. So that's the second one. Number 3 is you can do it in a really subtle way. So if Johnny's screaming over the top and you're not engaging with him, but he's still doing it, I would get up from my cubicle or office or whatever, and I'd go and see Johnny, and I would have this conversation. Hey, Johnny, have I bothered you? Are you annoyed with me? And if he says no, I'd say, because you're shouting at me, and it sounds like you're cross with me or something because you're shouting. So You're asking if you're, if upset him or you've done something, and then you can tell him, because this behaviour made me feel like I had upset you. You shouting and screaming made me feel like I've upset you. So it's almost a subtle way of saying you don't need to shout and scream because it comes across as really aggressive. So that's number 3. You can try that. Number 4, you can have a really courageous conversation. So if it gets to the point where you're going, this is not stopped, it's not a once or twice off, it's actually happening on a weekly basis or a daily basis or whatever, I'm going to have a chat with Johnny. And say to Johnny, come on, let's go and have a coffee. So you go and have a coffee and you have a chat with them. And you tell them the impact that it's got on you. You don't have to talk about the whole office, okay? But you can tell them the impact that it has on you. And you can say, hey, Johnny, remember when we had that meeting, we talked about office etiquette? Yeah. Okay, so one of the things was about noise. And I must say, you're quite a loud talker. And it's really, really difficult for me to concentrate on what I'm doing. And I'm 3 cubicles away from you. So I just wonder if that's something you're aware of, or whether you've got headphones in, or, what it might be. But it's just something that I think you should be aware of. So, we can make sure that we stick with this office etiquette that we've all agreed to, something like that. Okay, so you're going to have a direct conversation. It's not going to be, you're annoying, you're frustrating me. It's just about the general behaviour that needs to be altered, if you like. Okay, there's number 5. So this is a bit of an avoidance one, but if you've got to the point where you've had a chat to him, you've been a bit subtle, the whole office has decided on things, but things aren't going to plan. The other thing that you can do is have a look around the place. Is there another place that you can sit? Because if it seems to be that you're the only one getting frustrated with Johnny's voice and everybody else is okay with it, maybe it's something that you need to remove yourself from because it's driving you crazy. And it's not going to get any better. It's going to grate on you. You're going to get stressed. It's going to affect your mental health, all those sorts of things. But if everyone else is great with it, you got to look around and go, okay, so maybe I need to remove myself. So is there another space close to the office, but a little bit further away, or something that you can do to sort of remove yourself from that situation? So have a look around. Another thing that you can do, so number 6, is distract yourself. So, Johnny won't be talking on the phone all day, you would hope. So there'll be times when he is quiet. So the times that he isn't, is those times a really great time for you to get up and go for a walk around the office, grab a snack, go to the loo, whatever it may be, but distract yourself for that period of time. Just get out of the office for a minute or de-stress in some way that you can. That way, you're removing yourself for the situation for the period of time that's happening. I know it's not ideal and you can't do it all the time, but when you're finding yourself getting really frustrated with it, it might be something that you can consider doing. And last but not least, tell your boss, okay? If a co-worker is distracting you and you've raised the problem with them, you've done it in a jokey way, you've done it in a subtle way, you've done it in a very direct way, there's nowhere else in the office that you can go to, or you can't leave because you need to be around the people that you're around. And if that's still not working, then I would go and see your supervisor and say, look, hi, Nancy, I just wanted to come and chat to you. I'm having some real issues with the amount of noise in the office. It's particularly coming from one area, and this is what I've done to address it. I've done this, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. I've had a chat to him. Nothing's helped. It's been, 3 weeks since I've had a direct conversation and nothing has changed. What would your thoughts be on what I do next? Because I'm at a loss. So, at least you're going to elicit the help from your boss, from your supervisor, because ultimately it will impact you. It'll frustrate you. Your mental health will go down. Your stress will go up, all those sorts of things. And your boss doesn't want that. Okay. They want to have a nice, complacent or easygoing kind of work dynamic so people can do the best that they can do with their jobs that they have to do. So, get your supervisor onto it as well. And maybe they need to put Johnny, if he's on the phone all the time and talking really loud, maybe he needs to be moved to a different part, something like that. Who knows? But that's, you say to them, I've done this, nothing's worked. I'm at my wit's end now. I don't know what to do. What are your suggestions? And just see what they come up with. So I hope that helps. So number one, ignore them. So if Johnny's shouting at you over 3 desks, don't engage in that conversation. Wait until he gets up. Didn't you hear me? Say, oh, you're shouting at me. Sorry, I'm not going to answer to you shouting, but you're welcome to come and chat, or whatever it may be. Number 2, talk to the entire office about it. Don't pinpoint anybody out, but just say, hey, let's have a workplace etiquette of how we want to work in this open plan office, and let's take into account things like, conversations, noise, blah, 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 blah. Number 3, do that subtle, go up to Johnny and say, hey, Johnny, are you cross with me? Have I annoyed you somehow? And if he says no, say, oh, it's just because you're shouting and it sounds like you're being really aggressive and you're cross with me. So it's subtly showing him that his impact on you. Okay, so that's the third one you can do. Number 4, you can actually sit down and have a conversation with Johnny and say, hey, listen, this is what's happening when you're on the phone. Your voice is getting louder and louder and louder. That's reverberating around the room, and I'm really struggling to focus and concentrate. So I just wanted to let you know, so that, if we need to get you some headphones or speaker phones or whatever it may be to help that, then I'm fully supportive to get that done for you. The 5th one is have a look. If there's nobody else getting bothered by it, if everyone else is okay and doesn't seem to be stressed out or frustrated as you are, maybe this is a chance to find another workplace. Like, is there somewhere else in the building that you can sit? Sometimes that's not possible, sometimes it is. So have a think about that. I know the person that I was slamming doors on actually got himself an office on the floor up, I think it was. So he moved, which is great. So see if there's another option for you that way. Number 6, so find ways to de-stress. So when those time, because it might be not all the time that they're really loud, might be just when they're on the phone. So if they get 3 phone calls a day, maybe those 3 times you can think, right, this is the time for me to get up and have a walk around for a couple of minutes, or go and get a snack, or go to the toilet, or whatever it may be. Just remove yourself, breathe in and out, and give yourself that space. And last but not least, the 7th one was to go and see your supervisor, your boss, about it, and say, hey, I've done this, and this. None of this has worked so far. What are your suggestions? Because I'm at a loss now. I don't know what to do next. And the impact it's having on me is I'm not concentrating, I'm not focused, I'm missing deadlines, I'm feeling stressed, blah, 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 whatever it may be. Okay, so I hope that's helped. We've all got them in the workplace, or we've all had them at one stage. Or if you don't think that you've ever had a loud worker in the workplace, or a loud worker has not bothered you, you might be the loud worker. So just be aware. Okay, if people are giving you funny looks, or people are getting up and walking out when you're talking, or whatever, just have a little bit of self-awareness. Is that me? Am I really loud? Okay, so I hope that's helped. Remember, if you've got a question, if you've got a query, if you've got a burning platform, if there's something that's a blockage or something that's really annoying you, get in touch with me at ask@teamleadertoolkit.com. Ask me the question. I'll answer you straight away within 24 hours, and I'll get your permission if I can put it on a video for you. So I hope that helps. All right. So without further ado, bye for now and see you next week. Okay. Bye.